Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with drummer Steve Crammer, bassist Walter Stinson, and pianist Evan Main of Prawntail. We get into the release of their new and debut 2025 self-titled album called Prawntail, how they came together as a band, the future, and so much more. This collective piano trio features three members that are highly active sidemen in New York City. This collective project and release serve as an opportunity for three accomplished sidemen to offer up their own perspectives on the music. We dig into their whole story. Enjoy this interview. It's great to catch up with you guys. I love this project, so thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Yeah, of course. Having us.
You bet. So, debut album, it's a big deal. Before we get into the debut, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing and rearranging our worlds, especially for musicians. How much of living through that time period has affected the way that you create and do things now? And how did you get through that era?
That's an interesting question. I mean, honestly, yeah, I don't know. That's I'm not sure in terms of like how it affected how I create now. I think maybe the biggest thing for me coming from that time period, to answer your question sort of, would just be, I think during that time for a while, I was like practicing individually a lot, like more than I ever have in my life, at home, just because there was like nothing else to do really. And I was maybe working towards some specific individual goals and some things that I was trying to measure up to. And I actually ended up sort of driving myself crazy a little bit by doing that, to be honest, to make a long story short. And so I think maybe one thing that I would say I took away in the long run from that time in terms of taking a step back and reflecting on that. And one thing that I think I bring to this trio project and most of the things I do now is maybe I'm less interested, maybe it sounds cliche, but I'm less interested in like trying to be in like really impressive, shimmering individual pianist that like wows people and plays better than every other piano player. And I'm more interested in trying to be a part of a collective ensemble that finds musical moments together and stuff that for me has a little bit deeper meaning and a little bit more fulfillment.
I love that answer. Did anybody else want to put any thoughts in?
They can't follow that, let's be honest. They're
yeah, that's a hard act to follow.
That is a hard act to follow. So let's do this. Let's hop into the debut from Prawntail. I want to know, before we get into it, what brought you guys together? Like, give me kind of the history of the band and what impelled you all to get together to create the group.
I can take this one, I guess. We met separately. I think basically I met Walter and Evan in different musical settings, and sort of maybe 4 years ago or something like that, 2021, we had a very like low-key gig that I assembled, and Evan and Walter met each other on this gig. And I remember just on that performance feeling like, wow, there's something interesting happening here with these guys that have never met each other. And then we just kind of went from there. We played some private sessions with each other and kept exploring it. And then it became sort of a casual musical relationship. We would play some gigs under each other's names here and there for a couple of years, basically. And then at some point, it sort of became this thing where we were all starting to be into it. And we decided like, hey, maybe we should actually take this seriously. There's something here that we're not getting in any of our other musical projects, I think. Something different about what it is that we're doing together. And I think it's worth exploring further. I think that's really what happened.
Yeah, I can add a little to that too, just from my like personal experience that, you know, when we started playing together, we would play tunes and sessions, and I always was very struck by the openness that everyone approached even something like playing a jazz standard. And there would be times where, we would just sort of in the moment just go into another song, and maybe I knew it or maybe I didn't, or maybe, but it was just like the spontaneity that was really fun and inviting. And I just was always struck by Steven and Evan and just their openness. And I think we all sort of shared, without necessarily talking about it a lot, a similar aesthetic of music that we appreciated and loved, and an approach. And just through, I mean, like from our first session, which we have recorded somewhere, I just like fell in love with playing with them, because it was just I felt so free. I felt so like not restricted at all. Not like I even had to fulfill some sort of role. I felt like I could completely be myself. We could all be ourselves and create this thing together. And yeah, and I think over time of doing that, like Stephen was saying, like we did sort of fall like, oh yeah, we should make this a band, and we should record, and we should like make this a regular thing,
So you're christening everything with the debut album. Take me into what was your vision for this? Because having a debut come out is a big deal. There's so much that goes into it. What was kind of your shared vision for this project?
I'll keep the rotation going, I guess. Yeah, to be honest, well, I mean, we were just talking about this the other day. I think for us, the record, in a simple sense, it was born out of just the organic musical identity and sort of the book that we had started developing together just on our own, separate from any recording ambitions or external like motivations or reasons to put it on an album. Like we just kind of like Stephen and Walter were saying, we had a conversation at one point where it was just like, okay, maybe the way they put it was like, maybe we should take this seriously. So I think we just felt like we had, and I mean, the record, it's 8 tunes on it, and it's basically an even split in terms of compositions between the three of us, So like, I think we just felt like between the three of us, we had already this shared, like Walter was saying, like coming from a similar place in our aesthetics and like what we were trying to do with our writing and our playing, and it fit and it worked, together as one cohesive thing. And then it just became about, okay, we want to present this to people. We're proud of it. And, then really it just became about like, there is a difference between playing music, sometimes really effective in a live setting, where you're stretching and opening up and taking risks. And, it can be a little rough around the edges, but that's kind of part of the point, compared to creating like a studio album, that we would all appreciate. It's a little bit of a different thing. So then it just kind of became a process of trying to take what we had done, take that material and just slightly tweak it at times or adapt it to to a studio record, if that makes sense.
And being kind of your initial calling card into the jazz world with this album, what are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from this?
Walter, you're next in the rotation.
Oh, I'm next. Okay. I guess I would like the listener to really, get inside like our ensemble playing. I would hope that through listening to this, you can hear that there's a certain way we approach making music together and approach playing these original compositions that I think is a little different than what other jazz piano trios are doing or how they're approaching songs, and I would hope that the listener can hear that and sort of hear like, oh wow, there's a lot of interplay happening here between these people. That's I think on a pretty deep level, in terms of how we're hearing each other and how we're responding to each other and reacting. And um, I also would hope that, in some ways, I would hope that someone could listen to it and not even like be able to distinguish so much, like, oh, that's Steven's song, or oh, that's Evan's song, or oh, that's Walter's song, as opposed to, oh, this group's repertoire, and this is how this group sounds, and they sound like one singular organism. Because I think that that's very important to us, is not to just be like three separate individuals kind of doing our thing, and then that somehow creates music, but instead of us all of us working together, to create this one singular sound or voice. So I would hope that a listener would hear that, and not just hear like, oh wow, sounds nonsensical or something, but could hear the details.
So the one element that you talked about was, playing live. That's the backbone of what you guys have done. And we're living through really weird times, particularly in this country. And it's really an oasis for the people to come out and listen, even for you to get into that space, to kind of have a vacation for a little bit. How much of playing for people in this modern era is in your minds when you get on stage and present music?
Um, well, I feel like Walter and I kind of just spoke about this recently, but I love playing music for people. I like when an audience is enjoying themselves, regardless of the context of the music. Um, I like just playing in the background of some thing and being part of the space and having people enjoy themselves. I like playing concerts where the audience is super focused on what it is that the band's doing. I think music has the power to affect people in very different ways, in very different settings. And I hope that I bring the same mentality to every performance. I feel like we as a trio really do care if the audience is engaged with what we're doing. Um, and I think we're cognizant of the fact that there's people in the room when we're playing. It's not just us just indulging ourselves for an hour and then taking a break and then doing it again. Uh, we're, I think I am aware that there's people listening. I want music to sound good. I'm a listener first before I'm a musician. So if I wouldn't want to listen to it, I don't know why anyone else would want to listen to it. So I would hope that what we do is affecting people in a good way, whether it just makes them think about something, or it makes them feel good, or it makes them want to move, or it makes them want to drink, or whatever, or makes them want to talk. uh, as long as they're enjoying themselves, or they at least had an interesting time, I think that is what I'm looking for. I think that's what we're looking for when we play music. It's not just about me going up there or us going up there and just like uh yeah, indulging ourselves with no regard for the people in the room. Like I really do care that music is for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may, I feel like that to me connects a little bit with your last question as well, in terms of what do we want people to feel or get out of listening to this record. I would hope that on some level it is apparent to people that as a band, throughout each track, where, like Steven said, we're trying to serve the music, and we're trying to serve the purpose of that song and that moment, and do it together in a way that speaks, as opposed to, I don't think any of the three of us go into any performance or went into any of the recordings on this album with like this agenda of like, I need to drive the music here, and I need to, gear it up to 100 miles an hour or whatever. And so, yeah, just what Steven was saying just now about we're not trying to indulge ourselves or anything. We're just trying to offer something that is genuine and authentic and personal, Whether, not everybody's going to like it. That's not how this works. But also, I think on some level, that's part of the beauty of it. And by doing that and having an awareness and a perspective about what you're doing and doing it together, I think that is an experience as a performer and also definitely as a listener, just being in the room while that's happening, in the midst of, kind of as you alluded to, whatever else is going on in people's lives. I think that's an experience that hopefully, can never be taken away from us, and that people, can always appreciate and get something out of.
So one of the biggest formations of our approach to live music, whether we're a musician or we're in the stands, is the first concert that you've ever seen. What was the first live show, jazz or otherwise, that you saw that you thought, wow, not only maybe I want to be up there one day, or I absolutely need more of this? What was that experience?
I think
Everybody was looking up in the air, going through their catalog.
For me,
yeah.
Full Train at the Vanguard in '65. That was
Yeah.
I think it may have been when I saw Herbie Hancock I haven't really thought about this that much, but it was a very early concert for me. Herbie Hancock at the State Theater in Ithaca, New York, where I grew up.
Wow.
And I don't even really remember who was in the band. I didn't even really know who Herbie Hancock was. I think I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I kind of just barely knew who even Herbie was. But I don't even really remember the music that well, but I just remember being so struck by what was happening on stage.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you a thing about it, but I just remember at that moment, I think that really was a pivotal moment for me, because I think I was like, oh, this is serious. Like whatever's going on, like this is really something to pay attention to, and I want to know what this is. And I grew up. My mom played piano, so I was like around music, growing up. But a performance like that in a big theater, it was a big band. I'm trying to even think. It was probably what era of Herbie that was, or who that could have been in the band. But anyways, yeah, that really struck me. I think as just like just the sound, like the largeness, the grandeur of that presentation, I think really got to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if mine's as cool, but or it's definitely less. It's not related to jazz in any sense. It's my dad is who got me into music when I was really young. I mean, I started playing when I was about 6 years old, and he's a big Rush fan. And when I was a kid, Rush was not active. They were like on hiatus for many years, like from the I think like late 90s, maybe like 96 or something. They were still inactive. And when I was 8 years old or 7 years old, something like that, they came back on a tour. They put a new record out. My dad took me to see them in Hershey, Pennsylvania, at like the sports arena. And I don't remember anything about that show except that I just remember the size of Neil's drum set and being oh my God. And he took like a 10-minute drum solo in the middle where everyone left the stage.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, whoa, drums are so cool. And I was already playing at that point, but I was just like, wow, I want to do something like that.
And we do that now when Steven takes the drum solo. It's 10 minutes. We all leave the stage. 10 minutes.
Getting up there like Tommy Lee and spinning around.
Yes,
we're not indulging ourselves though.
We're not. It's not self-indulgent.
That's great. To be honest, I'm sure I saw many amazing concerts when I was young that I have totally forgotten about, and that's on me. But I guess I would just give a little bit of a different take for what it's worth, which is, for me personally, there's a lot of musicians in my family. Both my parents play violin. My mom was a music teacher, and whatever, I could go down the list, whatever. And I also grew up in a place where there was just, there was a good like college music school in town. And anyway, point being, I think that a lot of my early moments of inspiration in this vein were like literally, I remember being in elementary school and just going and seeing the local high school jazz band concerts with my family, and a couple of those people have gone on to be really high level professional musicians. Not necessarily like big names in the jazz performing world or whatever, but like people that are held in really high regard by anybody who knows them, and do this type of thing for a living. And anyway, so I was really lucky to be in a place where, you know, the level of those like local concerts, I think, was actually really high. And those were huge, like going and seeing those concerts and wanting to, I was like, I want to do that, you know, when I get to be their age. That was a big thing for me.
So you come to Kansas City, you're going to perform a show on this new album, showcasing it, and you have to come up right now with a pitch as to who you are and what you're going to present in a concise PR marketing way that's going to fill seats and make Kansas Cityans happy and excited to see you. What are you going to put in that notice to get people to be like, I'm going to see these cats, I'm in?
I don't think PR is the strong suit of any of us. This is
Oh,
this is
no.
a perpetual problem. This is a perpetual problem. I think I'm going to let somebody else take this
You got a
one.
Scrabble disaster right now.
Yeah.
We're get Kevin Sun on the phone right now. We'll
Yeah. If anything,
Yeah.
try to put people feel so bad for us that they would come. I don't know.
yeah,
The
exactly.
pity play, yeah. No, okay. I guess, boy, it's really not my strong suit. But let me just try. Let me just try to spitball this a little bit. And please feel free to step in, guys, and help me, because I feel like I'm on an island here. But I think one of the things is, okay, it's a piano trio consisting of three, New York-based musicians who are all very well regarded as side men in their projects, and they do a lot of work as sidemen, right? And I think we are coming together and creating, kind of taking what we've learned. It's already too long now, this pitch. Taking what we've learned as being side people in other people's projects and all that brings, and coming together and creating a unique sound as a piano trio with many different influences. And it's not like this is, maybe, I don't want to say it's never been done before, but we are trying to approach something with genuine approach, and I think that that's unique, just being who we are. And it's swinging. It's creative. It's gonna wow and amaze you. No, I don't know. Then I don't know. I really don't know. That's a hard question, man. That pitch.
What if we just put in all caps, pick us for your kickball team? That it just has the details.
That's kind of if you're looking for like a deep bench, that's what this band is. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm talking
Like,
about. And it can be all caps, exclamation point, every letter is a different color, and people are going to be like, what the hell is going on there? And then that's it. They come and check it out, and they get blown away by the music, So it could
I
be.
would hope that, my short pitch for this band would be that any fan of jazz could find something in this music that appeals to them. Because I think the thing about us is, because we're all sidemen and we play in so many different projects, and I would say that we're kind of towards the middle of the scene as a whole, all three of us aesthetically. Like, we like to play stuff that leans towards the avant-garde. We also like to play stuff that's more traditional, or even just functional music. And I think we bring that experience to this project. Like, we play like a rhythm section. It sounds like people who have a background in this music are really grounded, but we take a lot of risks and we try things, and the compositions kind of go in all different directions. So I would hope that any person who's a fan of the music at all could find something in this that appeals to them.
and I have no doubt they will. Prawntail, its self-titled release is out. If anyone wants to get a copy, catch you live, any of the good business, where do they go?
They can check any of our Instagram pages or also the Indectomorph Records page that is the label run by our friend Kevin Sun, who we have to thank. We're playing our CD release show tomorrow night in Brooklyn at Bar Bayou. And the record is available on Bandcamp. You can download it or buy a CD, and it's also available on all the streaming services that you can think of: Apple, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon, YouTube Music, wherever you listen to music.
Right on. I will put all of these links in the show notes. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking a minute out today. It's wonderful to meet you. Best of luck on the release.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Joe.
having us.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Brooklyn, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to the members of Prawntail for their time and story. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.